Parameter configuration. Connect the reader first. Click Config. Set the same output power for all antenna ports. You can also select one or several antenna ports to set the power. Output power can be set individually if we want to know whether an antenna port is connected with an antenna or whether the antenna port is in good contact. Detect the SWR of the end port. Antenna 1 port is connected with an antenna. Click Detection. If the return loss is greater than 10, it means off-signal transmission is normal, and port 2 is not connected to an antenna. The value of return loss is low. It means port 2 is not connected to the antenna, or the off signal is not set through the antenna. The larger the value of return loss, the better the antenna port matching. Check frequency bands. Our reader supports UHF frequency bands around the world. We can set a frequency band that meets local requirements. Working frequency. Choose frequency hopping. It's divided into auto and specified. Auto means the reader will automatically hop between all frequency points in the band. In theory, more points, better anti-interference ability. If several readers need to work close to each other at the same time, it's necessary to specify the frequency points. We can set the first reader to a frequency list and second reader with another list to avoid co-frequency interference. Auto frequency hopping is used to by default. The purpose of the filter setting is to discard some unneeded data. The first type is repeated data. If we set repeat time to 100, means that one tag is read many times within 1 second, and the reader only uploads it once. We can see that the tags are updated once per second. The RSSI max means that if the received signal strength indication of the tag is lower than this number, the reader will discard the tag data. For example, set RSSI max to 60. The tag with RSSI lower than 60 will not be read. Let's restore it to default. You can select the fields that need to be uploaded. It requires the support of the reader firmware. UTC time, phrase, frequency, RSSI, set. We just checked. All will be displayed. After unchecking, these three fields are no longer displayed. Next, the parameter that obviously affects the tag reading effects is QV. Generally, QV is set to 0 to read a single tag, and 4 to read multiple tags. The QV value tells the reader about how many tags near the reader, so that it can read tags with the best performance. Use a QV power of 2 to calculate. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. QV is generally used to 1 or 4. For EPC speed, we generally use dense or auto. Session and search type are used in combination. For details, please refer to the demo user manual. Baseband expansion settings to be set according to the specific project. You can refer to the user manual or consult us. Antenna enable is to avoid reading tags from an antenna port that is not connected to an antenna. Now only antenna port 1 is connected to an antenna. We can remove the other antennas enable. If we check the box for unenabled antenna reading, it will report an error. If all are enabled, then select any of the antennas will not report an error. Next, settings of the reader. RS-232 setting. You can choose to set different baud rates. According to the situation, default is. Here is the IP address of the reader. The default is this parameter. We can also check the DHCP function. After checking, the IP address of the reader is obtained from the DHCP server. If the parameters cannot be obtained, the network parameters will be abnormal, similar. Can set different rates and addresses. The self-checking means that the reader can set up a remote server. The reader pings the server regularly. If the ping fails, the network port of the reader will automatically restart. Check the current time to set the computer's system time as the reader's time. Server and client mode, the default reader mode is server. In server mode, use IP and port of the reader to connect it. In client mode, we must fill in the IP and port of the computer. Then the reader will actively connect to this computer and turn buzzer on if the tag is read. The built-in buzzer will sound. If you want to manually control the built-in buzzer, you must turn off the above configuration. Then you can manually or programmatically control the built-in buzzer to sound once or all the time. This state LED control is only available for integrated readers with a built-in hidden LED. We can turn on and control how long the light's on. This is also a way of indicating when the tag has been read. Next, advanced setting. The first one is breakpoint resume. when the reader is reading text. If the network is suddenly down, the text data read, in the case of offline, will be stored in the reader. After the network is restored, we can retrieve the cached data in the reader. We can set up an NTP server when the reader will automatically synchronize the time with the NTP server. Here is the factory reset. After clicking Restore, the reader will restore all parameters except the MAC address and time. Next, GPI setting. If we want to connect the infrared sensor to the GPI port, we recommend the PNP-NO type. The sensor is low level by default. We can set it like this. The trigger star selects high level. The trigger code selects the command to be executed. Here we preset 6 groups, of course. It can also be customized. The trigger stop selects low level and upload selects upload trigger information. Click Set. The anti-shake time refers to that the high and low level changes of GPI will be ignored when they change within the set time range. After setting, go back to the read interface. And now trigger infrared. We can see that the reader will automatically start reading text. If the infrared is not cut off, it will stop reading text. We can also query the real-time status of GPI. This is a high level when the infrared is triggered, and the low level when the infrared is not triggered. GPO is equivalent to a relay. When we set it to low level, the switch is disconnected. The current is blocked. If it's set to high level, the switch is closed, and the current is passed. Start barcode scanning only for Bluetooth devices. Next, output format setting. We can set the custom data output format of the reader and let the reader output data according to the specified format. Set start of text and end of text. Switch can choose open. Open means the current connection, which can be serial connection or TCP. UDP refers to sending the text data to the specified IP and port through UDP. Fill in the IP and port for receiving data here. Data format has 3. Formats. Show the function of UDP output. Select UDP, select the PC's IP address. Click Connect. Then start the reader to read text. We can see that the reader sends the data in the way we set. Weekend function supports weekend. Data content can be specified. If we check the stored address of the tag data, a portion of the EPC or TID data will be output at the stored address we entered. After the tag reading is started, the data will be output to the weekend controller in weekend format. The demo supports 3 protocols. GB refers to the Chinese standard. Tag reading mode is divided into single inventory and single cycle. Single means the reader will stop reading automatically after one reading. Inventory means the reading will keep reading until receives stop command. Single cycle means a single read command is sent over and over again. We can check auto jump. When reader connect, demo will automatically jump to the read interface. If check connection status is enabled, demo will regularly send a check connection status command to the reader to determine. If the connection status with the reader is disconnected or normal,